Today we are discussing if your goal is to be rich, these are the things you should do. Number one, like we've been discussing in our previous videos, recent videos. If I tell you that I can give you a loan for 1 million rands, that is for those in South Africa, but you will have to repay me back 3.3 million rands for the 1 million rand I'm giving you as loan. How many people will be happy and enthusiastic about it? Not many will be excited about it. See, but that's exactly what we do when we blindly go into buying a property or a house on loan. What we're actually doing is we are borrowing $1 million or rand, sorry, and paying over 3 million for that 1 million. So think about it. Like I wrote on the board, the bank loan you 1 million rand to buy a house. And for the 1 million rands, you are supposed to be paying, you can do the math, right? You're supposed to be paying 14,000 rands per month. And you are going to pay this amount of money over the period of 20 years. In 20 years, paying 14,000 rands every month, you will have paid a total of 3,360,000 rands in 20 years. Why would anybody do something like this? Have you ever wondered why anybody would want to do a thing like that? We do it every day because of the lie that your house is an investment. See, there's a difference between an asset and an investment. Assets, for instance, a house is an asset, especially when you are not yet rich. You see, when you are not yet rich, we cannot call a house an asset. See, even though if you bought it cash, it can be an asset because you see, one of the way I talk about here, money storing and money growing. One of the way we store our money is by buying assets and putting our money in assets like real estate, houses, lands. So for that reason, a house can be an asset, but it does not necessarily become an investment because an investment is one of the way that will grow your money. It's a money growing avenue. See, so if I take $1 million, a million rands to buy a house that I am still paying from my salary or from my business at maybe 33 point something percent interest rate, and I have to pay for 20 years to pay a total of 3.3 million rents, I haven't made a smart financial move or decision. Think about it. You see, the man who is taking this 1 million rand is not a rich person yet. You see, so and the only way you can become wealthy is that you control the money, the cash that comes to your hand, maybe in the form of salary or profit from your business. Now, if you blindly tie this supposedly the currency, the liquid cash that is coming to your hand, if you tie it down by buying a house because we're told it's an asset, it's an investment, and you tie down the income that is coming to you, at the end of the day, you have buried the opportunity to be rich. You see why it's a lie that your house is an asset, it's an investment? It's not. Even if you say, okay, let's say my house is an investment. Agreed? I do some calculation here at this point. Let's assume you took $1 million to buy a property. Obviously, depending on where you live, I think $1 million can only buy you. If you're buying through the bank, you're likely to get maybe a 2-bedroom house, flat, townhouse, 2-bedroom building, for example. So you get $1 million. And in the location where you can buy a 2-bedroom house for $1 million, rentals there should be maybe around about 7,000 rands. So you bought a property for $1 million, and the rental income is about 7,000 rands. All right, let's see. Let's do some mathematics now. So if your house is an investment, right? Think about it. So assuming that this house is occupied throughout the year, you can't tell, but assuming it's occupied throughout the year, in a year you will have 7 times 10, 70 plus 14, you have about 84,000 rands in a year. So you make 84,000 rands on your 1 million rand investments. So 84,000 rand per year, in 10 years, you are supposed to have made 840,000 rands in 10 years. So now, you know that there's no way 840,000 rands in 10 years. So multiply that times 2. Let's say times 2 will give you like a 1.6 million, somewhere there. Now, if you were the owner of this money, if you were the owner of the 1 million rands that you used to buy the house, then we can comfortably say that your house was an investment. Why? Because you own the money with which you bought the house, and you are not living in the house. So you did it for business purposes. So in this instance, you are using your house as an investment. It's an asset because at the end of the day, it has value. You can still sell the house. But in terms of cash flow and returns on investment, this is an investment. Right? In 10 years, you make $840,000, rents, profits, the house is still yours. So it becomes a money generating investment. But if you are buying this house to live in it, and you are paying for this house from your pocket, it is not an investment. Is it making sense to you? Because in 20 years, obviously you get 1.6, 1.680 rents, somewhere there. So in 20 years, yes, this investment is giving you a good turnover consistently for a long time. Your house here is an asset. But that you don't own this money, that you loan this money, you see, and you have to pay, instead of the million rents, you are paying 3.3 million rents back on this 1 million rent. That house can never be an investment. Never. Because you see, at the end of 20 years, at the end of 20 years, when you have paid off this amount of money, the possibility that that house current value will be worth 3.6 million rand is very, very minimal. So it's very minimal. So even if you decide to sell the house after 20 years, you haven't made as much money as you have spent to buy the house. You see, so that's the trick. That's the trick. And it takes me back again to what I said about investing our money. When your goal is to be rich, the smart thing to do is not to collect loan to buy a rental property. When we're thinking about wealth building and we're thinking about loan, what we mean by that is that I'm collecting this loan to fund a business that will generate the money for the loan and pay back the loan in the shortest possible time. See, that is when you are playing the game of finances with the bank. Because when I take a loan, let's say a million rand, and invest it in a business that generates, let's say 2 million or 3 million in a year, then I'm making a smart financial move. Why? Because even if I don't pay this money back in a year, and assuming I'm able to pay, let's say I paid 500,000 rand, I still have 2.5 million with me to play with. So even if I'm paying a huge interest on this loan, number one, the time I will need to pay back the money is a short time. And number two, that money is generating for me a huge amount of money. This is how to take loan from the bank. See, because from this money, I can buy a house that is worth 1 million rand. I still have 1.5 million, either to do more business. See, and yet I'm paying back the loan. This way, with this kind of mathematical, approach to business, I'm making money, I'm becoming richer using the bank money. This is a good financial move. But that I took this money to go and buy the house that I'm living in and pushing out the bulk of my income into paying back, the loan, can never be a smart move. This is the major reason why many people are poor and will be poor in this life. They took huge loan, to buy their house. Maybe you are 35 years or 40 years old and you took 1.5 million to buy a house that you're going to pay for 20 years. At the end of 20 years, you'll be 65 years old after you finish paying off the house. And of course, you'll have paid at least over $5 million rands. You'll have paid. And you're 65 years old. You see, you can't. It's not a good financial decision at all, any day, anytime. So the right thing that you do is to go back to the video we've done, the video I did titled Not Too Late to Be Rich. Check the calculation we did there on investments. How you can take the same amount of money from your salary and invest it in a unit trust or some treasury bill or something, wherever you can get a 10% interest on your investments. That's a good place to start from. You can get more, but don't go below 10%. If you can find, then there are a lot of such investments in vehicles and places around in our city. If you find something like that and you decide to play the same game, having maybe half the money you are supposed to intending to use to pay your mortgage, and put half for rent and half for investment, and give it the same period of time, you will be far richer than the man who went, who said, no, I'm building my house. This is my investment. When I retire, I'll have money. It give them the same period of time, 20 years. The one who invested maybe in a unit trust or in some, companies will be richer, more confident, more financial worry free than the man who locked down his earning in a house that he lives in. So what is your goal? If your goal is to be rich, don't use bank money to buy your house. Instead, continue renting and save the bulk of your money, invest the bulk of your money. When you've already had the money, like I did the calculation, when you already have made the money and you are rich and you want to now build properties to rent, that's a smart move. You see, you are not using the bank money to do it. And in the event it's okay, I want to use the bank money to do it. Okay, then you have to use the bank money to be able to build a kind of structure that will enable you to rent, and the people renting the building pay off the bank. There's a risk also in it, There's a risk there. I mean, every business have a risk. But that makes a little bit of sense. Then you are not tying down any money that is yours. You see? So think financial decisions are one of those areas where your intelligence is proven. Anyone who makes smart financial decisions is actually a wise person. So your wisdom is tested when it comes to finances. We see how wise you are by the kind of steps you take, you see, when it comes to your finances. Whether or not, because those steps will determine whether or not you're going to be rich or not. See, as much as we may believe in miracles and trust God for supernatural open doors and all of those stuff, there is a calculative steps. There's a practical approach to wealth. If you take those steps, whether or not you ever have miracles for finances in your life, you will still end up being well off financially. And don't forget, when we're talking about wealth, it's not just about you. You see, whatever you do and wherever you stop, because everybody's going to stop one day. Do you understand? Everybody's going to stop. Wherever you stop, you can have what we call generational wealth that you can transfer now to your children. You see, and you teach them again, you teach them the principle that have brought you to where you are, how you are able to have this much money, this amount of money to transfer to them. And then they continue with the same thing you have done. You see, and because they saw how you told them the story, how you came from wherever you came, salary to build that wealth that you are now transferring to them, and they followed the same approach. Your family lineage after you, many decades or generation after you, will be a wealthy family. Why? Because they have a formula that every family member must follow. See, we don't begin by owning houses. Somebody said, I got my dream house at 30 years. How can you get your dream house at 30 years, and you're hoping to live for another 50, probably 60 years more? Don't you think that in 60 years, this your dream house will be so obsolete? Just check around you. The houses that were built 30 years ago. Think about the technology change. See? So you can have a dream house at 30 years and you're planning to live long, to be 90 years. That means 60 years more to go. So think about your decisions. You are here not just to survive, not just to survive, but you're here to thrive. One of the ways to thrive is that you want to be very wealthy financially. So think of what you are doing with your salary. Your salary probably is not a lot, but effective management of that little money can make you very, very wealthy. You've heard a word that said, many people have used it. Cash is power, or cash is king. It's so true. You know why? Because opportunities always come to multiply our resources. But when it comes and you don't have, for example, even I'm talking about real estate, for instance, a house that you probably can buy for R1,000,000, somebody could be under a distress and saw that same house for you for 500,000. We call them distress sales. Something happened and you sell the house that is supposed to be worth R1,000,000 for 500,000 rand. If you have cash, you will have, from buying the house alone, you already made 500,000 rand. Just by purchasing, at the instant of purchasing, you've made 500,000 rent. Why? Because you have cash. So the man who built, either stored in an investment that is growing, you only move it if there's something like this to even increase the volume. That person cannot be compared with the one who doesn't have, whose all his cash is tied to his house. So what's your goal? And guess what? Like I said earlier on, the greatest thing you pass down to your children or to your generation after you is not just the wealth, but the knowledge of how you acquire the wealth. Because then they will have something valuable for all time. As you take your time to think through your financial journey, you can reach out to us. If you want a more customized counseling or guidance, you can reach out to us. Our email address is in the comment section, and it's on our description rather on this video, and we'll be able to to help you to build your wealth. Thank you. See you in the next video.